Well, Mr. Speaker, thank you for making time for us. A historic day here for you. Is it done? Is it done?
It is. It's even better the second time around.
That's good to know. Landmark legislation, this is something you have worked for a long, long time. Wall Street seems to be celebrating. Main Street, not so much.
You just wait. You just wait. When Main Street sees, especially Main Street businesses, they're getting a big tax cut. That's one of the reasons why the National Federation of Independent Businesses is so excited about this bill, because Main Street small businesses are going to get a tax cut. And more importantly than just getting their rates down, if they invest in their businesses, buy a truck, a piece of machinery, they can write off all of that investment in the year in which it takes place. We have not had that in a long time. That's going to be really good for Main Street businesses, not to mention the fact that they get lower tax rates. So we really believe, because most of the jobs come from small businesses, this is a great small business tax cut. It's great small business tax reform. I ran the numbers on Wisconsin.
Okay.
The average family of four in Wisconsin earning the median income in Wisconsin is going to get a little over a $2,000 tax cut next year alone. That helps a lot of people who are living paycheck to paycheck. That helps a lot of people in Wisconsin who are struggling to make ends meet, who are nervous about their situation, their economic problems.
Let me ask you about that. Middle class families, Janesville, Milwaukee, Racine, Waukesha. The Tax Policy Center said people making $50,000 to $86,000 will only get about $900.
That's just not the case. So the average median income earner,
$91,000?
No, it's 75, it's 79.
Okay.
I left the numbers in there. It's in the 70s for that's Wisconsin's median income. Here's how you should do the math. And I was in Beloit this last weekend at a volleyball tournament at OLA.
And you're talking this and at the volleyball?
Oh yeah. Wherever I go, I get this. So here's the way I would do the math. First of all, go to fairandsimple.gop to just see what the bill does. Second of all, double the child tax credit from where it is today. So if you have kids, your child tax credit goes from $1,000 to $2,000. Your tax rates go down across the board. For everybody's tax rates go down. And thirdly, the standard deduction doubles. So instead of having the first $12,700 not being taxed, your first $24,000 as a family is not being taxed. So there's a wide variety of tax benefits for middle income taxpayers that will help them at this moment where we have a lot of economic anxiety in America. But what is just as exciting is the wage increases we think will come from having business tax relief so that we can make businesses more competitive, so they can hire more people, pay more wages, but more importantly, compete in a global economy that we've been really not doing well with that. We've had the worst tax code in the industrialized world. Now we're going to have one of the best.
So let me talk about that. Right now, companies are doing pretty well. Profits are on the rise. Wages are increasing. Companies are flush with a lot of cash. Is this the right time?
Yeah. So let's look. Charles, you're a Milwaukee guy. The biggest company we have in Milwaukee that was publicly traded was Johnson Controls, which used to be headquartered in Milwaukee, Wisconsin.
It's now, have a big footprint.
They still have it. They're a great company that has a lot of jobs in Milwaukee, but their headquarters are Cork, Ireland, because Ireland has a 12.5% tax rate, not a 35% tax rate. So what we've seen happening is big businesses in Wisconsin and all around America are becoming foreign companies or are being bought by foreign companies. And when you start losing headquarters, when you start losing companies to going overseas, we lose jobs. We lose the United Way campaign. We lose those great jobs that come with it. But also, we have all this trapped cash overseas. There's about $3 trillion of, you're right, companies that have cash, but they can't bring it back into the U.S. economy because of our tax laws. This eliminates those barriers. So those businesses that are big and can make money overseas can bring that money from overseas and back into the U.S. economy. And what we tell all businesses, if you invest in Wisconsin, if you invest in America, if you hire people, if you buy more machinery, more equipment, you can write all of that off. So we have a huge incentive for businesses to keep their money in America, to build their factories in America, to make things in America. And that is not what this old tax code does. The old tax code basically pushes jobs overseas.
Why do you trust that they will do this? People fear that they're just going to buy more stock back, that people who have 401ks are the ones who are really going to benefit.
Well, that's a good thing too, isn't it?
It is good,
yeah.
But that not a lot of people have those 401ks, at least.
A lot of people do have 401ks, a lot of pension plans. So I think the entire U.S. economy is going to benefit. But right now, the head of Intel, one of the biggest companies in America, 50,000 employees, they told us that they would save $2 billion in taxes over a 10-year period per factory if they just go overseas under the old tax code. Under this tax code, it reverses it and says, look, it makes sense to keep things in America. So the problem, Charles, is we were losing in international competition, and that the fact that we were pushing jobs overseas, we were discouraging companies to make things in America. We reversed that. Now we tell companies it makes sense to stay in America. It makes sense to keep your headquarters in America. It makes sense to make things in America. And that is what I think is going to really help workers, in addition to the fact that people are getting a tax cut.
And those who are getting this tax cut, will they now need more money for health insurance? You're eliminating the individual mandate, and some people fear that's going to cost them more.
Actually, it's quite the opposite. So instead of making people buy health insurance they don't want or can't afford, we're letting people do what they want to do. We're giving people freedom to buy the health care plan of their choosing instead of forcing people to buy a plan that they don't want or can't afford.
Can they afford what is out there now?
Well, that's a whole other conversation, which is about Obamacare, which I do believe we have to do more to bring down healthcare premiums. And that's something we've got to keep working on, because healthcare basically was blown up by Obamacare. The Obamacare, as you know, in Wisconsin, we're losing insurers. We lost the Blue Cross plans. We're seeing double-digit premium increases every year because of Obamacare. Getting rid of the mandate helps, but there's still a lot more we have to do to undo the damage that Obamacare has done to the healthcare marketplace.
I know you got your postcard there. You wanted to simplify this tax code. At one point, you were looking at about 4 brackets.
Yeah.
It went back to 7. Now they're all going to be lower. I mean, is this really simplified?
Yeah, it is, because we still get rid of a lot of deductions. Nearly 9 out of 10 Americans will still be able to fill out their taxes on a form like a postcard. And the reason is because you double the standard deduction. So the brackets doesn't change that fact. It's the fact that we're doubling the standard deduction so people don't have to use all these different loopholes and deductions, combined with the fact that we did consolidate a lot of loopholes and deductions and simplify the code.
All the years I've been interviewing, I kept hearing deficits. Clarion call for Speaker Ryan. How can you be comfortable with what some are expecting $1 trillion?
Well, so I've said 2 things. Number one, to get the deficit and the debt under control, you need 2 things. You need to cut spending. In particular, you got to reform entitlement programs, which are the biggest, fastest growing programs. You got to grow the economy. Getting people from welfare to work, getting people in good paying jobs means they pay taxes. So this is one of the 3 things we've been trying to do through our budgets to fix this problem. 2 budgets we've moved to cut spending. The first one passed the House, unfortunately didn't pass the Senate. That's the health care bill. We're going to have to get back at that. This bill was always about economic growth and tax reform to get the economy growing faster. That's really also important for deficit and debt reduction. But we still have a lot more work to do on spending reduction. The House has delivered on these things. We've got to find a way to get through the Senate and into law very important spending cuts and entitlement reforms so that we can make good on this goal of getting the debt under control. Half of the equation, grow the economy, this does that. The other half, we got to get focused on spending.
So entitlement reform will mean entitlement cuts. In other words, people will have to get less.
No, I actually see it as entitlement reforms, making these programs work better, making them more efficient so that they actually save more money and deliver better on the promises. For instance, Medicaid. Giving the states more flexibility on how to administer Medicaid does 2 things. It helps make Medicaid work better in states like Wisconsin, and it also saves money for the debt and the deficit in the long run. Another point in case, which is what we're going to be working on 2018, welfare. Right now, our welfare programs trap people in poverty. They effectively pay people not to work. And so we have to change that so we encourage people to go from welfare to work and stop discouraging work. When you do that, when you change the way welfare works to encourage work and get people from welfare to work, not only are you helping the person, you're actually reducing the spending of the federal government because you're reducing welfare.
No cuts on Social Security?
Yeah, you can't, no cuts on Social Security.
All right. So, you have accomplished one of your lifelong goals.
It is, I have.
Cut taxes. Are you, given where you were 20 years, are you happy with this plan?
I am actually. So I've worked.
Win.
Yeah, I've worked. Oh, it's a huge win. This is a big win for the American people. It's a big win for Wisconsin. I got to tell you, we're a big manufacturing state. So many of our employers out in our industrial parks are manufacturers in serious global competition. This helps them so much. So I'm very excited about that. So yes, this is a big win. And honestly, this exceeded my expectations for where we would land when we were just working on this bill in the middle of this last year.
You got it through in 3 months, and what couldn't have been done in 30 years?
Yes.
All right. So you got tax reform. You're going to work on entitlement reform next year.
Yep.
Does Paul Ryan say after that, mission accomplished?
Yeah. Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to kick you.
Does Paul Ryan after that say, mission accomplished, thanks for the memories, I'll see you?
Look, that's not my plan. There was a lot of speculation recently about that in one of these, political articles. My goal is to do my job, see this thing through. We've got a huge agenda to pass. The future is down the road. If you asked me 2 years ago if I thought I'd be sitting here talking to you, Charles, as Speaker of the House, I never would have believed you. So what the distant future holds, I don't know. I'll confront that then. Right now, I'm focused on doing my job. I'm focused on delivering these reforms. We just banked a really good win for Wisconsin, for the American people. We've got more in store. I'm just solely focused on that.
Well, let me just push back a little bit on that. 3 years ago, I read a really interesting article about you in the National Journal, and you said, quote, I'm not going to be in Congress 10 years from now. I can be definitive about that. That's 3 years ago.
Yeah.
All right.
So 7 years.
Right.
So I'll say I'm not going to be here 7 years from now. How's that
You will
sound?
say that.
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
7 years from now? Yeah, next year's my 20th year.
Okay. So you do think about the end game.
Mm-hmm. Well, actually, I don't think a lot about the end game. I just don't think I'm going to be a lifetimer here. I'm 47 years old. I'm still a fairly young person. So I don't think of myself as being here forever. I've never have thought of it like that. I've actually been here quite a while already. I came here when I was 28.
Right.
But right now, I'm focused on an agenda. I'm focused on making a difference. I feel like I'm in a great place to make a huge difference for Wisconsin, to make a huge difference for the country. We just banked a win, the likes we haven't seen in 31 years for the American people and the American economy. And there's so much more work to do. And that is honestly totally what my focus is.
So no doubt that you would run in 2018.
Look, that's down the road. Jan and I always had that conversation. We had this ritualistic thing. Yeah, Jan has a vote. Yeah. We had this ritual. We had this ritual where we discuss that stuff in the election year in the spring when filing comes around. It's kind of like our family thing that we do.
All right. History has said that midterm elections usually are not good for the party in power. Are you concerned about that?
Yeah, we definitely have a historical tide against us. The average loss of seats for, let me get this right, for a president's first midterm election, no matter what party that president comes from, is 32 seats. We have a 24-seat House majority. So surely we're worried about the historical trend. But that's why I want this to be a historical Congress. That's why passing generational defining tax reform like we haven't done since 1986, I think that's how you break the odds. You break the odds of election trends by doing big, bold things. We ran on this in 2016. We made this promise that we would do this. We've done it. It's a massive promise kept, and we've got more work to do. I'm excited about it. It's bold, and that is how you defy all election prognostications and odds, I think.
So if you had a conversation with Jack Kemp today, he would say what?
Well done, my son. Well done, my friend. He used to call me a lot of different, he called me Pablo all the time. He'd say, well done, Pablo.
Mr. Speaker, I appreciate your time.
You bet.
Thank you.
Thanks, Charles. Appreciate it.